Good evening, good morning, good night, whatever the case may be. It's time again for world history with the one and only, the man that knows history like the back of his hand. It's me, it's Coach Hughes. Welcome in to our continuing lecture series on the religion of Islam. We have discussed many religions over the course of this video series. We've talked about Judaism, we've talked about Christianity, and this will conclude our video series on the religion of Islam. And just a friendly reminder, I'm not trying to convert anybody to one in particular religion, whether that be Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. We are merely putting on our historical lenses to look at yet another religion. Really, top three religions, the three big religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, uh, which all worship just one God, a monotheistic religion for each of the three. This kind of concludes our series on the big three religions there. So today we're going to kind of focus on achievements that were accomplished during the rise of Islam here. So let's kind of focus in on science and philosophy first. Now, Islamic scholars, they made great advances, and I do mean great advances in many fields. Astronomy, geography, math, science, you name it, they probably had something to do or to add on to those types. At Baghdad and Cordoba, Greek and other writings were mainly translated into Arabic. A common language helps scholars share research. And we kind of touch base on that common language theme our last video series. You might remember when we talked about the Byzantine Empire, when they were originally known as the Eastern Roman Empire, they mainly focused in on the language of Latin and, well, Roman culture. But they had deep ties to that Hellenistic period that the world went through. And eventually they kind of not revolted, I shouldn't say that, but kind of converted back to the Greek culture and Greek language. If you want to make strives, if you want to make contributions in anything, you have to understand one another. You see this a lot. If you want Christianity to spread, you got to be able to translate the Hebrew Bible to English, hence what King James did in the King James Version of the Christian Bible. Same thing in the Islamic faith. If you want Islam to spread, if you want Islamic culture to spread, you got to be able to understand each other, and that was through a shared or common language of Arabic. Now, Muslim scientists built observatories to study the stars. We said astronomy was a key factor in here. They also improved the astrolabe. Yeah, the astrolabe. The Greeks had invented this tool to kind of chart and position of the stars, but it was Muslim scientists that built a lot more, added onto it, observatories to kind of bring that to the forefront. Now, if you don't know what an astrolabe is just an elaborate incometer historically used by astronomers and navigators to kind of measure the inclined position of the sky and the stars, celestial bodies, day or night. It's just kind of a quick and easy measuring tool that we've established over a period of time. The astrolabe would later of course, be used in sea exploration by sailors that traveled across the sea and the oceans. Now, it was also, close your ears if you don't like math, it was also a Muslim mathematician who invented algebra. I just lost half the viewers here. Muslims found better ways to calculate distance and actually make precise maps. They also used the stars to navigate, as we mentioned and alluded to just a little bit earlier. Now, Muslim merchants and explorers, they traveled wide and far across this great globe, But one great explorer, Ibn Battuta, he traveled to Africa, India, China, and even Spain. So he was very well versed in different types of cultures and even religions to some degree. Now, Muslims were also known in the world of medicine, and this goes all the way back to the Egyptians, the Greeks, but Muslims also made some of the greatest advances in the medical field. They added greatly to what all the Greeks had already established, as I mentioned earlier, and Indian medicine. Muslims also, now get this, they started the first school of pharmacy. And we know a lot of people in today's world, maybe you yourself are interested in becoming a pharmacy, but it was the Muslims who actually started the first pharmacy school. Now, even a doctor in Baghdad found out how to detect and treat, now get this, smallpox. And that is one of the diseases that really played havoc on the world's population for a time period. Another doctor known in the West, Avon Sun, wrote medical encyclopedias that were largely translated into Latin and widely used throughout the European countries for centuries. You might want to mention Latin because remember, the Roman Empire, which encircled much of the Mediterranean Sea and beyond, everybody and anyone during that time period spoke Latin. So Latin was well versed during this time period. Now, a new philosophy also developed. It was called Sufism. Hopefully, I didn't slaughter that pronunciation there. People who practice this are Sufis, and Sufis seek a personal relationship with God. And Sufis is actually brought many followers into the scope of the religion of Islam. Poetry and short stories were also very, very, very popular among Muslims. You may have heard of a collection of stories called The Thousand and One Nights, which has characters like Ali Baba, Sinbad, and of course, probably and arguably the most well-known name in this group, Aladdin, is by far still one of the best loved books in all of the world, not just the Muslim world. Sufis poets were popular, including the famous Omar Khayyam, very popular. There were many achievements in architecture as well during this time period. Rulers liked to be patrons. Patrons helped fund and design and the construction of beautiful mosques, as you can see in the picture below. If you don't know what a mosque is simply a building for Muslim prayer, much in the same sense a church is where people in the Christianity faith go and worship as well. The main part of a mosque is a huge hall where thousands of people at some point gather to pray. Often mosques have a large dome and a minaret. This is where the tall, slender, you can see the picture here, the tall, slender tower, typically part of the mosque. It has the balcony. You might be able to see it there at the very top. This is where I should say, a person calls Muslims to pray. Islam does not allow artists to show animals or humans in religious art. Muslims believe only Allah can create humans and animals or their images. In part for this reason, Muslim artists turn to calligraphy. And this, of course, has been done throughout different cultures and time periods. It's a decorative form of art writing there. So that kind of takes us through the achievements of some of the Muslims and what they contributed to each of these fields in the name of religion. That will conclude our final chapter and discussion on the religion of Islam. Hopefully, you learned just a little bit. Hopefully. All right. Have a good day.